Looks like we have some enthusiastic folks coming in, and we'll get started here in just a moment on the Channel Islands Restoration Environmental Experts webinar series. Maybe allow a few more seconds for a few more folks to filter in. And with that, we'll get the introductions out of the way. First off, welcome to Channel Islands Restoration. We're a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Most of you know that. You're probably on our email list. That's what brought you here today. But we're a habitat restoration contractor. We do environmental consulting and environmental education. The webinar today is Exploring California's Oak Woodlands, a wildlife adventure with wildlife expert Mike Watling from Friends of the Island Fox. Mike's an old friend of CIR and vice versa. Please note that your video and your audio are muted in this webinar, but we definitely welcome your questions, so we ask you to type them into the Q&A section of the webinar. Not the chat, but the Q&A, and type them in at any time. And for the end of the presentation, or at the end of the presentation, we'll go ahead and read them to Mike, and he'll answer them for us. Want to also point out that if you would like to see this webinar again, or watch any of the other ones that we've done over the last couple so years, you can get it. You can see them on our website, cirweb.org/webinars. There we go. So like I said, tonight we're hearing from Mike Watling, pardon me, president of Friends of the Island Fox, which is also a 501c3 nonprofit organization. Committed to preserving the island fox and island spotted skunk and their habitat. With multiple certifications in wildlife tracking from Tracking Certifications North America, Mike's experience contributes to both scientific research and conservation efforts. He is also a trained California naturalist and a dedicated naturalist volunteer at Channel Islands National Park, and he shares his knowledge trying to see underneath the subtitles here. There we go. And nurtures his love for the natural world. So with that, I'll stop sharing and I'll turn this over to Mike. And one last thing. I'm glad I advanced the slide. Want to make sure that folks know that CIR wishes to acknowledge that the land upon which our restoration work is completed is the unceded territory of the Chumash people. We pay our respect to the Chumash elders present and past, and those who are coming along in the future, where they hold the memories, traditions, and cultures of this land, which we work to protect. So with that, let me stop sharing and we'll turn it over to Mike.
All right, thank you. All right, hopefully that's up, sharing everything. All right, good evening, everybody. Thanks for coming out in this wonderful couple of days before summer. The sun has finally arrived. That's awesome. At least it has in my place in Ventura. Yeah, so thanks for that intro. Kind of jump into it. So, with this presentation, one of my philosophies is, education and public outreach are really two of the most important aspects when it comes to conservation activity. And shortly, I'm going to turn off my video, because what we're going to be doing is we're going to be looking at a lot of video from our local wildlife right here in the front country. So I'm going to, in a moment, I'm going to turn my video off just to keep us the bandwidth so we can watch some videos that are coming up. But anyway, as I was kind of saying prior, these kinds of events, public education, are really important in conservation activity. It helps engage the public, and that is what we have found with fox recovery, island fox recovery. That really went a long way when you constantly engage the public, let them know what's going on, and kind of educate them on kind of the process of conservation, because there's some aspects of it that can be controversial, and we'll save that for another time. As you probably all are aware, kind of where we live, you know, in our coastal sage scrub area, we have these beautiful woodlands, we have these oak savannas, we have these kind of open chaparral here, right here in the immediate coast, some soft chaparral, and then as you get up higher, you get into the manzanita and some of the harder chaparrals as you kind of go through these different ecoregions of our local area. So everything that we're going to be talking about today is really right here in our front country. So you know, none of this is from way in the back country of animals that you may never ever encounter. These are all local animals that are in our backyards, many of them right there in our backyard in the evening that we may not even know about. And by understanding kind of the ecoregion we're in, that will help us inform the species that we may see. So here, we're in this coastal sage scrub. We're not going to find Sierra Nevada red foxes running around our local mountains here. And while we do have red foxes in Santa Barbara County, that is also kind of something that's a little bit controversial. Everything I'm going to be showing are original videos. There's no stock images used, no Getty images. And kind of what you see in that photo right there, that is the cameras I use. These are small, compact trail cameras that you can put out. I do some wildlife monitoring in the local area. And so these are all on properties that I help support, setting up monitoring programs and such. And they're really non-invasive ways to monitor wildlife. I prefer using video because you can see the activity, you can see how the animals are moving, how they're interacting with the environment, and for me that's something that I find particularly interesting, and it can be very, very informative of how a wildlife is using the landscape. These cameras are motion and heat activated, and they record for specific lengths of time. I have them set for 20 seconds worth of filming. There's generally a delay built into these cameras so you don't get a lot of false triggers. And if the animal stays in front of the camera often will reset, and you'll see kind of a croppy or a jittery image where the camera stopped and then it restarted to continue filming. At night, the videos are not going to be nice, bright, colorful. I use no-glow infrared, so these are not visible to the human eye. They're mostly not visible to the wildlife, although there is some data that suggests that wildlife can hear the shutter activate in the camera, and some can pick up that no-glow. But I don't have big, bright lights going off and everything like that, so I'm really trying to capture natural behavior. You'll see timestamps on them all. So I have there's the metadata is all captured. Whoops, sorry about that. And the cameras are not baited at all. So everything that you're going to see is natural. I don't use any bait or anything like that to draw animals in. I find a spot where I think they're going to be, and we put out the camera and we wait and see is what happens. So with that, what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn off my video and kind of start the show here. Oh, now it doesn't want to advance. There we go. All right, so the first one up here, kangaroo rat. Let it play for a moment. So when most people think of rats, they envision kind of the sewer rats scrambling around big cities, carrying off buckets of KFC and stuff like that. Those are introduced old world rats. They came over here when Europeans first started settling and exploring North America. So they're not a native species. But here in California, we do have a couple of native species of rats, and believe it or not, these are clean living rats. The wood rat and the kangaroo rat that we're looking at right here. Our coastal hills, an area, we are full home of the agile kangaroo rat. There are many species of kangaroo rat. We have the agile kangaroo rat here. It's a furry nighttime ninja. They're found throughout the West, the arid West, and they're unique to North America. And as the name implies, and as you can see, they have this incredible ability to jump. They can jump 10 times their height. I'm just under 6 feet, so if I could jump 10 times my height, I'd be jumping up 60 feet. So they're really, really incredibly agile, really great jumpers. They're really a cool little creature. They're also a very important animal in our landscape in that they're a burrowing animal. They like to cache their seeds that they collect. They're seed eaters. And sometimes these seeds will germinate. So if they bring in some seeds from some of our local plants, chamise or mule fat or coyote brush or something, it can help populate the local area. Because they have these tunnels underground, they help aerate the soil. So they're really an important species, and an important species for many of our animals around here. The bobcat, foxes, owls all like to eat K-rats. Next up, we have something that should be familiar to most people. We have our striped skunk. Now, what's interesting about skunks, other than I think they're really cool and cute, they have these conspicuous black and white markings. Now, there are numerous species of skunks. There's striped skunks, there's spotted skunks, there's hooded skunks, there's hognose skunks, there's pygmy skunks. But the one that we have around here that you will most likely encounter is the striped skunk that we're looking at right here. So hopefully it's continuing to play. It kind of looks like it stopped on my screen. Did it play all right on you guys' end? Did it go all the way through?
Yeah, I saw it.
All right, did you see it with the coyote?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So skunks, they have poor eyesight, but they have a good sense of smell. In its defense, as you know, they have this powerful spray. They can spray up to about 16 feet. They can spray multiple times, and it's a sticky yellow liquid. It's foul smelling. It burns. One of its main components is butyl mercaptan, and it creates this blinding. It can blind its target for a period of time, and it's kind of a painful burn if you get it in the eyes. However, it's not an ever-ending fire hose that comes out. They have approximately 1 mil or 1 ounce rather, 30 mils of liquid in these two glands at the back end of the business end of the skunk that they'll spray. And they can spray a little bit or they can spray a lot more. If they have to spray a lot, like that coyote that came up, if that coyote kept coming after it and it really had to spray, and it uses that 1 ounce, then it becomes defenseless for about 10 days. So the skunk's going to go through a process before it fires off its noxious weapon there. It's going to stomp its feet, kind of like you saw that skunk do a little bit. It'll make a little hissing sound, and then if it still feels threatened, that's when it'll go into its spray mode. But generally, they're really docile. I've been out. I've encountered a lot of striped skunks. I've encountered them with my dog on a leash, and I've never really had any problem with them. I give them a bit of a berth. They've just kind of walked by. And sometimes they've just completely ignored me and went about their own business. So they're overall they're really docile. However, they are a carrier of rabies and other diseases. So they can be a nuisance. especially if they take up residency under your house. All right, and one that we're probably all familiar with again, just our local raccoon, masked bandits of the night. I thought this was just kind of cool video of them playing in some creek water from the rains last year. Kind of a interesting looking character. Probably see them all the time around the neighborhood. All right, come on. All right. So here, this is two cameras. One kind of in perpendicular setup. You can see the one on the log, and then there's one that's tied to a tree that we're kind of looking at. And that split screen is the one from the log. Mom is nearby. She's up in that kind of the right middle quadrant of the camera. These two fawns were born last year. They still have their white spots. They'll lose them as they get a bit older. I was recently in this area and I had video of two more deer, and I think it may be these siblings that were in that area again. Very common out here in the west. So we have mule deer here, and the white-tailed deer inhabit forested regions. So they kind of have a bunch of different niches for them. So I think there's kind of cute little video of them. Then here we have some grown-ups. So here's a couple of bucks that wander our local hills in front of my camera. You see the one missing some eye shine, probably a injury that happened during sparring or something. Still have their velvet. So the velvet is skin that's covered with short hairs that covers and protects that growing antler underneath. And then once the antlers finish growing in the fall, the skin will dry, it'll die away, it'll start to dry, it gets itchy, just like when we get dry skin, it gets itchy for us, and that's when the deers will start kind of rubbing their antlers, and they'll be entering the rut. And then by January, February, the rut is past, the deer will shed their antlers, and the process will start growing again. These two are together. They are in what is known as a bachelor pod. So this gives them a way to just have more eyes out for predators. And in addition to that, they start developing a hierarchy. So this is where they kind of judge each other's fitness. They'll start off with some little bit of sparring, and then as they get to the rut, that sparring gets a little bit more serious as they're looking for their mate. Another thing about the deer, it takes, so these deers are probably about 3 years old. So the first 1 to 3 years or so these deers are probably 4 years old, 3 to 4. The first couple of years that they're growing, they spend a lot of their energy is in their long bones, so kind of their legs growing out, other body parts growing out to help them mature. And then after that, that's when they'll start putting more energy into growing those handsome racks that they have upon their heads. That gives them that nice majestic look. So young deer typically only have 1 or 2 points on the side, and then as they get bigger and can put more of their energy into growing larger racks, that's when they'll grow the larger racks that we're kind of used to seeing and stuff like that. And then they move in this neat gait. It's called a pronk, where they just leap off of all 4 feet together. And this is kind of unique to mule deer. So white-tailed deer don't pronk like this necessarily. They have other strategies for avoiding predators. So since the mule deer are open lands here in the arid west, they can get spotted by predators a long way away. So their escape mechanism is using this pronk. And from that tree to where the camera is was 25 feet. I went out and measured it after I found this video. So they have really a tremendous ability to leap, to change direction, and avoid predation that way. And of course, we got to give a shout out to our local birds here. I'm sure everybody's probably familiar with our California quail. If you go up to like Reyes Peak area, Pine Mountain, you also find mountain quail up there. So yeah, so right around here, running into quail, especially this time of year, the chicks are hatching and they're running around. You saw the barn owl is common in our hillsides here as well, and you heard and saw that scrub jay that's around. So some of the birds that we have, they can be fun to watch. We have western screech owl. So this is not a great horned owl. I'm pretty sure this is a western screech. If somebody knows if I'm wrong on that and they want to type it in the comments, that would be wonderful for me, so I can learn a little bit more. And you can see he has a deer mouse. I'm pretty sure that's a deer mouse. And this creature, this guy is the same one I've been seeing over and over. He's kind of pretty hot hand running. I've seen him a few times, consecutive nights with food. So he or she is an amazing hunter. And what's cool with owls is they give us something that we can see in the landscape. Here's an image of a great horned owl cough pellet. Owls will swallow their prey whole, kind of gulp it down. Larger things, gophers, even that screech owl is probably going to have to dismember that mouse before eating, and they swallow it down. And it takes about 10 hours for those nutrients to get absorbed or so. And then after that, the owl will regurgitate the remains in the form of a pellet right there in the landscape. So if you know where owls roost, you can easily find their pellets, and you probably find bones of pellets that have decomposed, because they'll once they get wet, they will decompose rather quickly. So last week when we were having those really wet mornings, owl pellets would get soggy and decompose fairly quickly. And then from there you can collect and go through and see what's in there. I love doing that. It's a great way to get a feel for what's on the landscape. In this particular pellet, this was from one pellet. The skull on the upper left right here, right next to the ruler, that's a pocket gopher skull, and the one next to it is a wood rat. So that owl had some good eating going on there, getting wood rat and gophers. And if you have property, please don't use pesticides. It really, if you can make it owl friendly, they'll come and they'll do a better job than pesticides will, and it won't get into the environment. So just a little PSA out there. Now, one animal that you may not realize we have here on our landscape, right here in our front country, is the badger, the American badger. They're a fossorial creature. They spend a lot of time underground. They're solitary. They like open areas. And they constantly just sort of roam their territory, which extends from here in North America all the way down south to about central Mexico, and then from here in the Pacific to kind of like the Great Lake region is where you'll find badgers in the U.S. Here they're often associated with open oak woodlands and grazing lands that we have around here. Ground squirrels are a big part of their diet. Pocket gophers, voles is what they're really going after. And many times they'll dig up a ground squirrel burrow or a pocket gopher burrow And that kind of lunchtime effort turns into that night's sleeping quarters. So they'll dig into these burrows, they'll munch down the creatures in there, and then often they'll just kind of rest in that burrow, and then the process begins again. Here in California, they're considered a state species of concern due to loss of habitat. So it's really, really important that we preserve our open habitats to keep these creatures alive. And then kind of one thing I will mention in that regard is here in California, we have around 630 or so terrestrial vertebrate species that are native to California. And this includes birds, mammals, reptiles, amphibians, or so and such. And approximately 300 plus or so of those call our oak woodlands home. And that would include, let me look at my notes here, about 120 species of mammals, such as the badger, 147 species of birds, and approximately 60 species of reptile amphibians. So that really makes oak woodlands one of the richest habitats in the state, and also one of the habitats under the greatest threat from development. So, really the work that CIR does and your support of them really goes a long way into preserving these open spaces for species like the badger, which here in the state are protected. All right, I'll let you guys figure out what this one is. So if you're kind of looking at it and wondering what the heck, yeah, that's a black bear. Having a good scratch on my camera. So an interesting little story about this video, and you're going to see something similar in another video that I'm about to share, is I went out to service these cameras, and the cameras moved, and it's like, oh man, somebody found it and they're tampering with it. What else is going on? And it turns out it's just a bear having a good scratch. Now, here along the south coast, as recently as 100 years ago, it was grizzly bears who roamed the land, and they excluded black bears from the Los Padres forest. So the black bears we're seeing here now are really not our original bear. Our original bear was the grizzly, which the last one was hunted to extinction in the 1920s or so. And then we've had the black bear slowly moving into the former grizzly habitats. Now what's interesting is in the 1930s, in order to promote ecotourism kind of in the Southern California region, 28 black bears or so, I've heard a couple different numbers thrown out, but we'll just call it 28 or 30, were moved from Yosemite Valley. They were translocated to Southern California in 3 areas. One was up in Crystal Lake in LA County. Another was up at Bear Lake and then Santa Ana Canyon in San Bernardino County to help promote this ecotourism. And really the southern expanse of their range goes into Riverside County. But I did get a report that I heard maybe 2 weeks ago or so, maybe less than that, that someone spotted a bear in San Diego County. So that's one sighting of one bear outside its range doesn't mean much, but hopefully maybe bears are moving into to San Diego County up in the mountains up there. Here in the state, we don't have a big accurate count of bears. I know there's plans in place to go out and recount and reassess how many black bears, But some of the estimates are approximately 30,000 bears, black bears in California, just 30,000, that's it. And they form kind of basically three distinct populations, if you will. And here in the SoCal Central Coast region, we have less than 10% of the total state bear population. So we have a really small bear population around here. It does seem to be growing, which would be a good thing, and it'd be nice for the state to, get some new protocols in place and give us some accurate bear counts. And we also have these running around. Ecological dumpster fires. So these are invasive pigs. These are feral pigs brought over by Europeans during ranching days. Pigs have no real season. They're expert at escaping, and they're kind of roaming our lands, and they can become a real problem species the way they root up everything. Many of the Chumash artifacts have been lost due to rooting pigs, and they can really kind of disrupt ecosystems. So they're not something we want running around our hills at all. But something that we do want running around our hills, and something that I always enjoy seeing, bobcats. This girl's just taking an afternoon break on tax day. Probably just finished her taxes. What's kind of neat about this is when I got up and serviced this camera at about 4:00 p.m. on April 15th, there was this video. So she was there just before I got there, keeping an eye out over her territory. They are, although they are elusive and really well camouflaged, you can see how her spotting really helps her blend in. Kind of if you look around, you can see that her colors match the surrounding area. They are one of the easiest wildcats to observe, and you get some exciting encounters when you're out. Just kind of keep your eyes open. I've run into bobcats many times out in the front country and back country. It's always been kind of exciting and fun to watch. You can see her white marks in the back of her ears. They are, which is very common in wild felids, and that's a way that it helps communicate mood, believe it or not, through the ear. So other cats can kind of tell, is this going to be a real negative encounter or a friendly encounter? The kittens also can hone in on it, so her kittens can see it. And kind of get a sense of mom's mood and things like that. It really helps just allow other bobcats to see how that particular bobcat, the mood it's in. Here in California, in 2020, a hunting and trapping ban was put in place. So bobcats you cannot hunt bobcats for fur. You can get a depredation permit if they're harassing your livestock after you go through efforts to protect your livestock and stuff like that. So we do have a really healthy bobcat population here in Southern California. All right, come on. There we go. All right. One of my favorite species. This is the gray fox. So gray foxes are really, really interesting. When you look at the canid family tree, you'll find that gray foxes and its predecessors have been inhabiting southern North America and Central America since the Middle Miocene. So we're talking about 10 million years ago. The genus Urocyon, which the gray fox is part of, along with the island fox, is the most primitive canine lineage and is the closest to the origin of all canid species. Canids they came from North America. So all the canids around the world, whether it be our gray wolf, our fox, our island fox, red fox, jackals, African wild dogs, they all got their start in North America, millions of years ago. The gray fox prefers woodlands over open environments. These forested habitats, especially second growth, where the habitat can be much denser. It allows this inconspicuous fox to elude predators in really an unusual way for a canid, and that it can climb trees. So island foxes can climb trees. That's one set of traits that was retained by the gray fox in its early divergence from other carnivores, which other canids have since lost, is it has recurved claws and rotating forearms. So it can rotate its wrists, and it can essentially kind of climb the tree in much the same way a cat does. These foxes, as you guys see, have an elongated body, kind of a long tail, short legs. It really gives them the ability to get up into a tree, which allows them a place to escape, gives them a place to rest, and it also allows them to forage for birds and bird eggs. So they're really a fun species. I really enjoy any encounters I get with them. I love watching foxes, and they're really a cool species. Now I do want to we're going to spend a little more time talking about this species right here, because it's really the most dominant predator we have on our landscape, especially kind of in the front country. And it also has kind of a complicated and at times debated history. I'm going to start this video. And this is really cool. So it's going to be a series of videos here just on the coyote, Canis latrans. So that's a female. And then the chest bump, that's her male partner. And he says, hey, I need to get away from this crazy one. Little kind of mounting activity, little nuzzling activity, some playful bumps. Kind of mid winter. What is this all leading to? That is one of their mating rituals. So that female was telling that male that she is ready to breed. And what do we have? In the same spot, a couple months later, we have a pregnant female. And then as she goes by again, you may have noticed there were some nipples there. So she had birth. She had a successful litter. Excuse me, I'm unsure how many pups were in the litter, because I've not seen them all together. And I'm not going to go looking for them. I'm not going to disrupt their home life or anything like that. And then, so this is kind of a fun one. This is that other video I was talking about when I was showing the bear. So you can kind of see the difference between the dad down there and the juvenile up on the log, playing with my camera, like all puppies, kind of mouthy, pulling on that. Yeah, so I got up to this camera and it was all messed up, and it's like, what the heck is going on? So coyotes are an American original. All living canid species, as I mentioned, can trace their roots to North America. And then about approximately 3 million years ago, a small, nimble, wolf-like canid emerged on our North American landscape. And it was is called Canis edwardi. And now Canis edwardi was kind of if we saw him on the landscape, he'd be, a larger canid. He's in between a gray wolf and kind of the modern coyote we were just looking at. Approximately 800,000 years ago, Canis eduardi produced what eventually became the modern coyote. Now, as you remember what I just kind of said a moment ago, so all canids began their journey here in North America.
Hey, Mike,
Yes.
we just see a blank video now.
Yeah, it paused.
Oh, I
Yep.
see. Okay,
Yeah.
thank you.
Yeah, I'll let it run again. Thank you, Ken.
Much better, much better. Thank you.
Yeah. So, all the other species that we know, all the modern species like gray wolf, red fox, and their allies, they radiated out of North America, and then they came back into North America in their final form. So the gray wolf, that's that we have here, in California now, its origins, it came into North America as a wolf. It left North America as an intermediate canid, and then came back as that gray wolf. Um, and then because the coyotes are smaller in size, they had to adapt. Um, Now, while all the other canids left North America, the coyote and its predecessors remained here in North America. So the coyote is really a North American original. It's from the kind of the western region, so the grasslands, the Great Plains. Uh, it's a little confusing when you get into were they originally in California or is it something that they migrated to? I'm not quite sure. The literature kind of shows a little bit of both things happening. But anyway, they've been really, really successful. Um, and they've been successful because they had to have a different strategy than the larger canids, the dire wolves that they were on the landscape with the gray wolf and allies and things like that. So they really had to become a smaller canid, and they adopted a different strategy that's focused on smaller prey items such as rabbits and gophers and things like that. But what's a bit unusual for coyotes, and the video's not playing yet, it's going to play because I do have a warning for this video. Something that's unique among coyotes than other canids is it has this ability to act independently in addition to being part of a pack or family group. So coyotes can go out and successfully work as a family unit, but coyotes can also survive kind of on their own. And you really don't see that with like wolves that specialize in taking down deer and elk. They really need that pack environment, a large pack, to take down those large animals. Where the coyote, has the ability to take on the smaller prey and operate independently. And this really has proven to be a very successful adaptation for them. One, because they were smaller, they became a little more skittish. So people think, oh, this kind of this skittish coyote, it's just kind of a weakling or whatever, everything else. That's really a survival strategy for it. And while other large, the dire wolf is gone, Canis eduardi is gone, Canis latrans, the coyote, has remained on the landscape, and it has, adapted to live in the cities. They're found. You've probably seen videos of them riding a subway in Chicago. When coyotes started getting into the city of Chicago, they were noticing a lot of road kills, and it's like, oh, these coyotes are getting run over, they're getting hit, and then they noticed something changing. Is the coyotes started to understand traffic patterns, and they started to use intersections to cross. And I'm probably dramatizing a little bit, but they kind of were, when the light turned red, they were going across on the side, the crosswalk. They kind of figured out how the system worked, and they were able to adapt. And that's really given them this really unique ability to survive while they're being persecuted so much. A lot of people do not like coyotes. They consider them vermin. Here in California, we have about 750,000 coyotes. Um, just with a valid hunting permit, there's no coyote season. People can go out on coyotes. And you probably heard about the killing contests that happen, especially in the Midwest area and parts of the West, where people get prize money for going out and shooting as many carnivores as they can. But thankfully here in California, that's forbidden. We don't have any of these killing contests. But we've spent a lot of effort as a society to try to rid ourselves of coyote, yet they're extremely successful. The thing we need to learn how to do is we need how to learn to live with them and accept them on the landscape. We're moving into their homes, so we need to learn how to live with them. Ways we do that: we don't leave food out at night. We keep our pets in at night, things like that. A couple myths that people like to hear, and I've heard this a bunch of times. You hear coyotes howling. People are talking about, oh, they're celebrating a kill. No, they don't howl. They don't howl to celebrate kills. Mammals, or animals generally don't announce to the world when they found a good meal, because they don't want others coming to take it. Just like you probably don't go out on your back porch and yell, tell everybody your tri-tip's ready, come and get it. So coyotes are not doing the same thing. Every time I post coyote videos, somebody always comments about eating cats. A study back in, I think it came out maybe 2020 or something like that in the LA area, showed them the urban coyotes in LA County and surrounding areas. The cats were about 20% of the diet. There's a lot of other food in there. As you move out of the city into the urban, into suburban areas, the amount of human type foods decreases. But they are opportunistic. They are omnivores, so they will eat whatever they can find. So if we do our part, we can help reduce any type of negative contact with coyotes. Now, I would like to warn you, if you have dogs around, you want to get your volume up for this. But if you have a dog around, the dog may get a little bit excited. And so we're just going to kind of let this video, it's a bit of a longer one, but it's a lot of fun. And in live audiences, I get some good laughs from it. I kind of love that. They seem so in sync. Yeah, they just seem so in sync in what they're doing. They're howling. As you notice, there's only three, and it sounded like a whole army out there. They have, if I'm not mistaken, about 14 different vocalizations that they can do. So they have a complex repertoire that they can produce, which is pretty fascinating. I find. So yeah, I think that they're really cool, and it's so cool the way they seem to be so in sync with their howling and their scraping at the same time. And here's another, just kind of another fun one, since we just had Father's Day a few days ago. Kind of a juvenile waiting for dad there. And way up in the distance, you'll see there's 3 coyotes go off the camera. So I think mom or one of the other siblings was out there as well. So just kind of these behaviors that are very similar to our dogs, right? I mean, you come home from work and your dog's there ready to greet you, and that's what we get here. Now we are coming to the end, so I do have a couple more that I want to share. This one can't have a presentation to Channel Islands restoration without something from the Channel Islands. So kind of a belated Father's Day to everybody. We have this other video of a fox pup out there with dad. Kind of really cute. This was right there at Scorpion Ranch. Hopefully everybody's been out there, is planning to go out there. Kind of, that pup was just tripping all over himself that day as he was growing up. Just hanging out and being with dad. Won't give dad a break. But fox dads are really good parents. Canids are really good parents in general. The dad helps take care of mom when she's in the den having the pups, and then helps teach the pups and provide for them as they grow up. So really a great relationship with them. Okay, so this is the last video. This one is something I'm real excited about. This is one that was not done with a trail camera. This was done by me, just kind of staying there filming it. We have an island spotted skunk and a fox, and I think this is just a kind of a wonderful video. You really get an opportunity to see what an island spotted skunk looks like. They are a subspecies of the western spotted skunk, and they're only found on Santa Cruz and Santa Rosa Island, nowhere else in the world. We really don't know a lot about spotted skunks. We are learning and developing protocols, and research is ongoing regarding the spotted skunk. We believe it belongs in its own, have its own taxonomic classification. That's something that we're looking to pursue, getting it classified as its own species. And there's only population estimates. There's only about 1,000 between those 2 islands. So there's not really that many island spotted skunks in existence. So they're really unique. They're really rare. They're very cryptic. You only find them at night. And I was just very fortunate that we had a banner fig year, and foxes and skunks were out there. This is at Scorpion. They're out there up in the fig tree. This little nose activity, little nose bump, boop the floof. Fox goes on his way. Skunk's trying to figure out what it's trying to do. And I should say no spotted skunks were harmed in the filming of this video. Fig trees are pretty slick, so that skunk is having a hard time. Spotted skunks are very agile. They're more agile and active than the more ubiquitous striped skunk. But this one's struggling on the slick fig tree there. Boop. Yeah, you can see it just kind of goes all about his way. Yeah, that was that whole weekend. Skunks in the tree and skunks falling from the tree. It was pretty incredible. So that's really what I wanted to share. Hopefully, I shared some things that you weren't aware of. Maybe introduced you to a new species tonight that you didn't realize that we had here. And I just kind of want to leave you with with this quote from Sir David Attenborough about, no one will protect what they don't care about, and no one will care about what they've never experienced. So hopefully by sharing some of this with you, it's going to give you a little more excitement about, your support of Channel Islands restoration. Um, Maybe hopefully it'll give you, when you're out hiking in our local hills, something a little more to think about, what might be out there and everything. So really want to thank you for attending tonight. Really appreciate the support and the support you're giving CIR. And then I'll happily answer any questions that you may have.
What a fantastic presentation, Mike. The coyotes were, everything was incredible. And the badger was, I haven't seen one of those before. And the coyotes were amazing. And I've never seen a skunk and a fox just hang out together and touch.
Nobody, yeah, nobody has. That was, yeah, that video drew a lot of excitement and actually drew some excitement from the Nature Conservancy as well. So
Oh, good. Yeah.
really, really glad to have that. I will say though that what that looks like, all rainbows and unicorns. We don't know how foxes and skunks truly interact and what their relationship is on the landscape. I have seen videos of skunk or foxes aggressively going after skunk dens. So it's not all unicorns and rainbows out there. There is conflict, and it's something that that we have to be mindful of and kind of understand a little bit more.
Okay. Well, we have 4 questions in the Q&A. We can go in for about another 15 minutes if people have any others. So type
Sure.
them in. In the meantime, I'll ask them. Janet asks, I would like, no, excuse me. Robin asks, is there a way to encourage badgers to control ground squirrels? What size territories do they need?
Oh, that's I don't know if you can. Badgers are solitary creatures. They're also can be very aggressive, so it's not something that you necessarily want to encourage. And when they dig something out, they're going in there to get that badger body into that hole. So they're not slinking into this ready-made ground squirrel hole and grabbing a ground squirrel and going out. They're digging out that hole to get them. So they leave big holes. And I know ranchers have concerns when they have badgers on their property because the cattle or livestock can easily break legs in their holes. So it's something they can dig up a big part of the landscape. I've seen areas size of a football field, and you just see these big mounds where badgers have really been going to town, where there's a high density of badgers. So I'm not sure if you really want to encourage them to come in, but they are an effective rodent control if you have them.
Interesting. Okay, and Janet would like to know what cameras you use because they're so much better than hers. Looks like you're using Brownings, right?
I use Brownings. I'm pretty much a Browning camera. There's other good ones, but I like the Browning, and I use the no glow. They have some that you can get like a white flash to it, a white light, or the red, or a visible red light. But I find that disturbs the wildlife, and when you're working locally, kind of in our foothills and stuff like that, you don't want these lights going off where A, people can see them, and two, it could be an eyesore at night if it's kind of in the lower area or something. So I prefer the no glow. Keeps everything a little better, a little safer. But if you have questions, you can email me. It's foxtracker805@gmail, and I'd be happy to talk trail cameras with you.
Yeah, I've used Browning cameras quite a lot. I think most people do, but there's many out there.
Absolutely.
Carolyn would like to know the evolutionary reason for the ear spikes on the bobcat. She says, what purpose is served, and says, so cute. They really are.
Oh, the tufts.
Yeah.
I've never kind of thought about that in such a way that I've dug into in the research. It probably has something to do a little bit with the communication for the animal. I would imagine that that, or it may help it appear differently, or just give off some kind of other vibe that helps both predator avoidance and uh, maybe for prey itself. But other than that, I really don't have a real answer for that.
Okay.
Answer the question, I'll have to look that up.
Julie says the book Coyote America states that the more that humans try to get rid of them, the more that coyotes reproduce. Do you agree?
Yes, I do agree. I've read the book. I read a few of Dan Flores's books. Um, really like his mix of science and storytelling. Um, yeah, I agree, and you see that kind of with larger predators in general, that they, uh, when you think about a mouse, mouse has a short lifespan. It's a major food source for everything else in the landscape. So they're constantly, they need to constantly breed and have litters and put, little mice on the landscape. Whereas these were larger predators such as coyotes, wolves, even bobcats, foxes, they're eating those predators. But if we have a big rush, to Vaughn's, and we take everything out of Vaughn's or Trader Joe's, and there's nothing else, we have to kind of manage, our food. So that's what many carnivores do, is they manage, their population based on the food that's available. So that's probably a bit of a long-winded answer, but yes, I agree that the more we try to eliminate and kill off coyotes, it gives them more opportunity to produce larger litters and everything. So they will balance themselves out. So our strategy is not really a strategy at all.
Okay, and Tamara asks, are red foxes more aggressive toward gray foxes than the other way around? Do red foxes always / usually displace gray foxes?
Yes, so red fox is the largest fox species. It is an aggressive species. They occupy 75 million square miles of the Earth's um, surface, so they're pretty much everywhere. They're even in South America, and they're making their way north into the Arctic. The only place they're not really found is in South America. Um, so they are aggressive to gray foxes. They will kill them. They will kick them out of their range, as coyotes will too. So that's why you find gray foxes really like more dense, thicker habitats, um, things like that, where they can get in where the larger animals can't get to them. So red foxes have been known to displace Arctic foxes up north, and that's one of the challenges there. Um, the I guess the saving grace with that is the Arctic fox can withstand -50 degrees in the winter, where red fox can't really. It's harder for a red fox to survive in that bitter cold. So as long as the northern latitudes stay cold, red foxes won't be able to go up there and won't displace, or can only displace the Arctic fox so far. So they are aggressive and will move out. But then they are subordinate to mountain lions and coyotes, and wolves. So they will get pushed themselves. So it's a constant battle on the landscape for finding a niche and finding a territory. So it's tough out there for them.
Okay, interesting. Susan wants to know if we have long-tailed weasels. Are they native?
Yes, yes. They are hard to find. Um, I've not I've not visually encountered a weasel. I found weasel sign around. So we do have weasels around here. We do have long-tailed weasels in this area, and they are native to California. They
Okay.
like being underground a lot. They're great at hunting voles and ground squirrels and stuff like that. So they really get into the burrow systems, and we don't see them up. on top very much.
Please repeat about the 630 terrestrial vertebrate species.
Certainly. So here in California, we have an estimated 635 terrestrial vertebrate species. So these are things with a backbone, and they're going to be on the land. So we're not talking whales, porpoises, and dolphins or anything that's in our channel. Just things here that are on the land. So we have, about 635 of this terrestrial species, and about half, 300 or so, call oak woodlands home. So they live and need the coverage for the oaks. They need the mass crops from the oaks and things like that to survive in them. So that's our oaks here in California are really is an important species for our landscape. We need to do a better job protecting our oaks from development and things like that, along with our estuaries and stuff like that. We've lost about 90% of our estuaries here in California. So it's really an important landscape. And when you think about the oaks, they're providing cover, right? So there's cover in there. So small predators or small species moving about, they have some type of coverage, so they won't be as easily spotted because of the big trees, and therefore they give, it's an area where you're going to see a lot of Jerusalem crickets in that leaf litter, where you help decomposing, and then things that feed on the, Jerusalem crickets, such as skunks and things like that, and then other species come in to feed on those middle-sized species. So it really becomes, you have this amazing trophic layer within the oaks as they go through, the kind of like that whole kind of life from the bottom plants that are in there to the big predators that are coming in and eating the prey species that use the oak. So it's really incredible, a valuable a part of our California landscape that we have to protect. And to kind of throw that in, with our changing climate, we're losing a lot of our oaks to the droughts, and we're planting like for like. I think it's maybe blue oak that are struggling in these droughts that we're having, and we lose them. We're planting blue oaks, where part of our strategy, we may need to think about another oak species, moving a more southern oak species that's able to handle the longer periods of drought and the stresses that come with a drought environment, and replacing some of our, what we consider native oaks with these other oaks. And I know that sounds really controversial, but that may be a way to help balance our landscape out here. So I kind of throw that out there, a little controversy, never hurt anybody. Get some discussion going.
Okay, I've got 3 more questions in about 6 minutes.
Okay.
Janet wants to know, are kangaroo rats are kangaroo rats in eastern Ventura County? We have lots of wood rats, she notes, but she's not seen kangaroo rats.
Yeah, we have and did she say eastern Ventura County? Yeah,
Yes.
there's kangaroo rats. Yes, you have agile kangaroo rats running around your area. They're here. I've seen them out in Santa Paula, Fillmore area. So yeah, they're definitely there, along with the wood rat. Yeah, big-eared wood rat.
Right. Let me see here. Yes. I have lived in Mission Canyon for 40 years, Debbie says, and have noticed a decline in gray squirrels and a proliferation of red squirrels, especially in the last 10 years. I've seen them up there myself at the Botanic Gardens. Can you discuss this?
Can I discuss it? Are you seeing red squirrels or are you seeing fox squirrels?
Good question. I wouldn't have a positive idea. They're red in color.
Yeah. Fox squirrels have a reddish color underneath. They're in our area. I can't specifically talk about red squirrels because I'm not sure if we have I don't think we have red squirrels here.
Oh, we're probably talking about the fox squirrels then.
I think it's fox squirrels. So we have the fox squirrels and gray squirrels. Yeah, I don't know really what's going on there. They're not a native species, and I think they're just taking advantage of opportunities and expanding and doing range expanding. But I really don't know much more about that balance and how red or fox squirrels and gray squirrels compete. I'm not very up on that part. Sorry.
Yeah, Debbie says fox squirrels. No,
She
it
said
sounds
fox.
like Debbie knows. Sounds like Debbie knows.
Okay.
Jeff points out when they turn to old bucks. Whoops, wait a minute. I got to go up one. Young male deer lose their horns for 3 years. When they turn to old bucks, do they keep their horns?
No. So mule deer lose their antlers every year. So they stop growing. Um, we get once we start getting into fall and daylight hours shift and we start getting shorter days, that triggers a hormone in the deer. The antlers stop growing, um, and they'll lose them in February. So this is all deer. So young deer, those 1-2-year-old spike bucks that you may see, or young deer, kind of referred to as nubs, when you just see kind of the little horn, the antlers starting to come through. All deer will lose their antlers. They don't retain them all year. Just with the smaller deer, you may not notice them because they're spending more of their energy growing muscle, growing their long bones, so they can put on and bulk up and become, ready to be that adult deer, that big buck on the landscape. But the old deer, they'll lose their antlers every year. You can go out shed hunting, a few months, after hunting season, the shed season opens, and you can go out and you can find deer sheds and collect antlers. Some kind of a hobby for people.
All right. Well, there
it?
were a few more comments here and there, but we don't really have time to get to those, and I wouldn't know where to start. But those were the questions. Thank you so much, Mike, for a wonderful presentation. That was really a lot of fun, very unique. And thank you, everybody, for joining us tonight. And lots of people also put in the comments thank yous and compliments about your presentation tonight, Mike. So I didn't read those either.
Yeah,
I didn't read those, but they should be noted.
yeah, good, thanks. And there's if you have questions, you can reach me at boxtracker805@gmail, or I'm on Instagram, same boxtracker805. Yeah, if you have questions, I'd love to talk about trail cameras and wildlife, island foxes, spotted skunks, stuff like that.
Great. Well, thank you very much. Thank you, John Ziegler, our marketing director, for helping out put this together tonight. And have a good evening, everyone. Thank you.
Thank you, Mike. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you. Bye, everybody.